Hello Vera, how are you doing? Good morning. Well, I would just like to review with you just a few concepts. So let's go in very briefly. What I want to discuss and make you remember is just this. This is going to be just a recap so you don't lose too much until our next class. We're going to have some sequence like 3, 8, 13, 18, 23. Those are the numbers that you're going to have in our sequence. We're going to get those numbers by counting blocks, by counting rods, anything, okay? But let's suppose you just got this sequence. 3, 8, 13, 18, 23. The exercise is going to ask you to give you an equation to represent that sequence, okay? And that equation, it is going to be in the form like something x, something multiplied by x, plus or minus another number. That number might be even be 0, okay? It doesn't actually have to be a number. I mean, 0 is a number, but it doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? It could be also be 0. Now, how do we get those numbers? Remember, the first one we're going to get just by acknowledging whatever it is being added or subtracted. So from 3 to 8 to 13 to 18, we just have to add 5. That 5, it is coming here. This is the easiest number you can find, right? Okay? In this case, it's going to be the 7, you see? Here is going to be the 9 because 9 is being added. So that number that goes along with the x or the n, doesn't matter, okay? Any variable is going to work. It is going to be the number that it is being added or subtracted. In sequences, there is actually a name for this numbering here. We call common difference. And common difference, why? Because it is a difference that is going to be the common difference between every single term on this sequence. Okay, so we just found this number, and how are we going to get this one? This one is going to be a little bit different, but not difficult. Well, this is an equation, isn't it? At least it should be an equation. So this is going to be 5x plus or minus something, and that must be equal to something, okay? Because we are going to substitute the x by like x equals 1, x equals 2, x equals 3, and so on. And what are you going to do? To discover this number, you're going to use x. For instance, let's make x equals 1. If x equals 1, we have what? 5, because 5 times 1 is just 5. 5 plus or minus something. And if x equals 1, okay, in here, this number in here, okay? If x equals 1, what is the number that our sequence has? If x equals 1, it is 3, isn't it? It must be 3. So 5 plus or minus what? It is going to give us the 3. It must be the minus 2, isn't it? So that number must be minus 2. Can we put minus 2 in here? Yes, we can, but let's just do one more, okay? Just make sure we got it right, that math. Let's make, because if that equation, okay, so most likely this is going to be a minus 2, okay? And that should be our sequence. If that sequence, Vera, it is true, it should hold for the entire sequence. Now, let's go ahead and let's try, because we have tested for x equals 1, right? Let's test for x equals 2. If we substitute 2 in x, it's going to be 5 times 2, because now x has a value of 2, right? We are in here, second part. And this is 10, plus or minus something. And what is the value that our sequence has for x equals 2? It is 8. It was for x equals 1 is 3, then for x equals 2 is 8. Now, 2 times 5 is 10, right? 10, again, minus 2 equals 8. Okay, that's it. It's 5x minus 2. Now let's try for another term. Let's choose, for instance, this one, 18. No, Yeah, no, let's find for x equals 3. It should be 13, right? So it should be what? 5 times, if x equals 3, is 5 times 3 plus or minus something, and for x equals 3, it must be 13, right? 3, 8, now 13. This is 15, again minus 2. You see? So that is why our sequence to represent our equation to represent that sequence, okay, in here should be 5x minus 2, okay? And the same goes for every other kinds that we're trying to find, okay? Let's see another sequence we have discussed it. Oh, just remember you, okay? This is our last class. This is going to be, we are going to call this a function, okay? So our function, let me see here, our function, it is going to be, in this case, 5x minus 2. This is going to be a function, and it is going to transform something into something else, okay? If we just plug in, like, x equals 4, for instance, on that function, well, we're going to take 5 times 4 minus 2. This is 20 minus 2, and this is 18. So it is going to transform to us into 18. It is just like that. If we just plug in number 4 in our function, it is going to return 18. No problems? Okay, you can just see this function as you just plug in something and return something. Okay, if I just feed my machine with x equals 4, it is going to return to me the fourth term on my sequence. Okay, in here, so this is a function. I'm just going to make just one more exercise. Okay, for instance, this one. We have the sequence 5, 14, 23, 32. We have acknowledged that the plus 9, it is a common difference, okay, between each term, and that 9 it goes along with the x. Okay, now we just have to find out this term in here, not this term, we just have to find out this number. Okay, it could be 0 instead, but it could be, not that it's going to. Now, how to find this one? Just substitute. Take x and make x equals 1. X equals 1, we are going to have what? 9. But for x equals 1, that function must return 5, right? So x equals 1, it is just 9. 9 plus or minus what? It is going to give us this 5. Well, it must be 9 minus 4, right? Because 9 minus 4, we are going to have this 5, and that's how we get it. Okay, you can just make for x equals 2, it must return 14. For x equals 3, it must return 23. Okay, and just going to take one more, and that's it. Let's say, okay, let's take this one for instance. Let's say you have 12, 19, 26, and so on. Well, the common difference, it is going to be a plus 7, right? And that is a 7 that goes along with the x. And let's say now we have to find out this number in here. We don't know this number yet. Now, just make x equals 1. This is going to be a 7. But for x equals 1, if we just plug in x equals 1 into our machine, it must return 12. Agree? It must return 12. But if we make x equals 1, what is going to be? 7. The machine is going to make 7 times 1, which is 7, and plus or minus something, and that must be 12. So 7 plus 5, right? 5, it fits the equation. It gets a 12. And that's how we find out. It's very simple, okay, Vera? Oh, and that's all I want you to remember until we have our next class, okay? Thank you very much, and see you on Friday. Okay, now we're going to see on Friday, because the next Wednesday it is also going to be a holiday in here. Okay, I don't like holidays, okay, because it just messes up with everything, but it's not up to me to decide the holiday. So we have a holiday on this next Wednesday, so we're going to have our classes back on Friday, November 22nd. Okay, so see you at Friday, November the 2nd. Okay, Vera? And until then, try to see that video, because you cannot forget how to get this equation. Okay, please try to look this video maybe more than once, and so on Friday that part must be very well understood. Okay, thank you very much, Vera, and see you on Friday. Okay, bye bye.